So, chances are, if you have a K11 Nissan Micra, it is probably very rusty. And that is why in this video I want to walk you through how I'm going to disassemble the whole rear suspension assembly, axle, drums, shocks, everything, so I can clean the rust. So I assume this is going to be the first video out of a small series. In this video I'll take everything apart, and then another video I'll clean it up and maybe put it back, or I'll put it back in the third episode. I've no idea. Anyway, let's get to it. Right, before we move on, I'd like to make an announcement. Buy my merch. This is my merch. Check out my website in the description. What? Is it not a good ad? It is a good ad. Leave me.
No, don't say buy my merch. This is my merch. No shit, it's your merch because you just said buy my merch. You wouldn't say buy my merch if it's not your merch.
Could be a sponsorship. Anyway, buy my merch. I'm gonna leave that in. So this is my merch. We've got plenty of designs. I'll put up some pictures. Here's a picture. Got many more designs on the website, and we've got stickers coming soon, and micro cookie cutters. So like when it's Christmas, you can cut your cookies for Christmas. It's cool, isn't it? Buy my merch. Now, before we get to work, I do want to point out a few things. You may have noticed that my exhaust is not on the car. Now, if you guys want to take out your exhaust, it is not that complicated. You are able to take it without taking it apart in 3 pieces, because I know it's very hard that they get stuck together over time. So here's how I did it. With the car in the air, I'm going to remove these 2 bolts at the bottom of the cat, and these 2 12mm bolts where the middle muffler hangs down. Anyway, now we have the front of the exhaust hanging down. Now I'm going to drop this assembly down. There we go, and with this entire suspension assembly dropped down, we just have the exhaust wobbling here. And if you do it right, you may just be able to pull it out just like this. It's going to be an extremely tight fit, but after you got that out, you should just... There we go. And that is how to remove the entire exhaust system. Now, I did actually start working on the car yesterday, and I forgot to start filming this video, so I did take the shocks out, but I'll go put one back in and show you how I took it out. Now, the first step, of course, would be to get the car on jack stands. I put some bricks in front of the wheels because I can't put the car in gear just in case, because I actually have my timing chain off and everything, but definitely put a brick in front of the wheel, even if it's in gear, you know, better safe than sorry. Then once you have that, I actually jacked it up from the middle right there, lifted the whole back up, and then put jack stands right there and there. So yep. Now, if you don't have a trolley jack, like in my case, you can still jack it up from the rear. It's a bit sketchy, I don't recommend it, so maybe don't do it, but here's what I did. Now, obviously, I took the wheels off, and now we are pretty much here. So, let me show you how to take out a shock. Down here, you will find a 17mm bolt and nut holding the bottom of the shock to the rear suspension assembly. Once you have removed the 17mm nut from the bolt, go ahead and jack up the rear suspension assembly just a little bit to take off any pressure from the bolt, and it should just pop out. There we go. Now, before you remove the jack, I do recommend putting some timber blocks or something like that, just so you don't stretch out this brake line too much. You might crack it or anything. Make sure the whole rear suspension assembly isn't just like dangling off. So anyway, now that we're done with the bottom, let's move on to the top. So in the boot of your K11 Micra, you will see these yokes here, and you're just going to pop them off. It's not going to look like this because I've already unscrewed mine almost all the way. You're going to want to hold on to that little rectangle on the top of the shaft with an adjustable spanner. Let me find it, hold on. There we go, an adjustable wrench, adjustable spanner. Hold it on to the top there, and that bolt right there is a 14mm. It's a mess, hold on. Yeah, so 14mm, and hold to the top of the shaft with an adjustable wrench. Unscrew it until you get to the point where you can't actually hold on to the little tip. And at that point, you might want to get one of these, a set of pliers, and you'll want to come back down here and take off this rubber cover, or peel it up as much as you can, and then hold on to that part of the shock with the pliers, and hold a lot of resistance and unscrew the nut the last few turns. Now, it might be a little awkward having to like reach all the way into the wheel arch and also like unscrew there, so maybe get a friend to help you if they can, but you will have to hold on quite tight. So yeah. So now that you know how to take off the shock, go ahead and take off the other one like I did, and let's move on to removing the springs. I've actually taken one out already, so let me show you how I did. Now, I know I told you to put these timber bricks under the rear suspension assembly, but now to take off the springs, you might want to take them off. So go ahead and jack the rear suspension assembly back up just a little bit. There we go, so we can take these out. Now, you're going to want to drop it just about enough that you can compress the spring by hand, hopefully, and well, without stretching the brake line too much, take it out. So here we go. If it's like stuck to the rubber down there, you could like pry it open a bit. Try not to like damage the spring, I guess. So there we go, I've dropped the rear suspension assembly just, well, not just a little bit, I've dropped it quite a lot. Don't hold it in this position for long because this is kind of stretched out, but let's see if we can do it with one hand. So I'm going to grab it, and yes, these are lowering springs, but there we go. It's not too hard, but you know yourself. If you have regular springs, they should be just fine too. I mean, after all, I did take out the regular springs in this way to put these in, so that's it done. Repeat it on the other side. Of course, after, as I just said, jack this back up and put the bricks under it. So now that the shocks and the springs are out, I'm going to move on to the part that I'm not looking forward to at all, and that is the brake lines and handbrake cable. It's going to be a mess. We're going to probably be like leaking brake fluid all over the driveway, but right, let's do this. So I've just had a look at the PDF file of the manual for working on the K11 Micra because I kind of want to know what I'm doing before I actually get started, and I'll pop up some of the pictures I found and some of the instructions that I did find helpful, and I will link in the description where you can download this file. I'll put it up on Drive or whatever. I'll share with you guys if you guys need, because it is actually quite helpful. It has everything, like wiring diagrams, brake system, engine, literally everything. So I'll make sure to leave a link in the description. Anyway, so I think we should probably start off by removing the handbrake cable, and to do that we need to take the drums apart. I've never done this before, so let's see how it goes. I've been hammering the drum for a good few minutes now, and it's starting to give a few signs of wanting to come loose, so I'm going to keep going. Alright, I think that was it. I hit it once there, and it seems to be coming loose now. I'm probably going to need two hands, or hold on. There we go. Very nice. And there we go, we have the drum off. This is actually the first time I'm looking into a drum brake ever, so it's quite interesting. All the tutorials were, well, the drums are way bigger. This looks tiny, honestly. I mean, it is a Micra. Anyway, let's do that. Spray it all down. Very nice. Now, while this next step isn't necessary, it will make things much easier, and that is getting a 30mm socket and taking this off and taking the whole bearing out so you have space to actually remove the shoes. Right, so if you're going to do this, make sure to leave the springs in before you're doing this, because the whole axle is lifting up. Let me go put the springs back in and give that another go. That's the spring back in, let's give it another go. That's it. And with the nut off, my one just slides off easily now. You might need to give it a few whacks with a hammer if yours doesn't. But there we go, it's off. Now, as you can see, we got much more space, so let's take this all apart. Fresh. There we go, that was not too bad. Now we have access to the handbrake cable, so we should, I don't know how, I think that just clips out and pops out, so let's give it a go. This here is the handbrake cable, and there is this little collar here. I think you're supposed to push these in and pull it out, but I've managed to take it off. You're probably not supposed to do this, so if you can clip those out and pull the cable out like that, do. I'm just going to do it like this now. Hold on. Very nice. And let's put that back on now so we don't lose it. And I've bent it back into shape, so there we go. Now that can just go back in when it's time to now clip in, and we will have hopefully no problems. Also, I took this little bracket out just so I can like move it out. Also, that broke from the rust, the other one, but yeah, undo these two, do that little clip, and just it should pull right out. Let's move on to the brake fluid system now. So we're going to start off by undoing this little yoke here, so let's try break that loose now. Yeah, there we go. Not too bad. There we go, that came out absolutely no problem. I've put a rag there to collect any brake fluid. Right, now next step would be to get probably a flathead into here and hammer this little clip out to release the rubber hose from the actual bit that goes to the axle. So Now it's quite dark outside and it's raining, but I gave it a good few whacks there. I needed 2 hands to do it, and that came loose, so I should be able to just, there we go, with the flathead, and just like that we should be able to take this out now. There we go, lovely. Now, as you may be able to tell, it is the next day. Last night I finished the brake line and the handbrake cable on the passenger side. So now I'm going to do the same on the other side, and then we will be ready to, well, drop the whole axle. So I'm going to do that, and let's move on. Alright, there we go, that's it done. It doesn't take that long once you know what you're doing, and you also have a light. So, you know, once you get the hang of it, it should be quite easy. Now we are pretty much ready to disconnect the whole rear suspension assembly, since we don't have any other like cables or wires being connected to it. Also, I got to take that spring out, and that's pretty much it. Alright, so here you can see me removing one of the nuts to take the Panhard rod out. It was a 19mm nut and it was quite rusty, so I did use a wire brush and a bit of lubricant to pretty much just ease the rust into like wanting to let the nut unscrew. It was still quite tricky, so I had to unscrew it, then turn it back, and then unscrew it some more, turn it back half a turn, but eventually I got it out. There was a lot of friction. The nut got really, really hot when I took it out, but eventually we got it out. There we go.
Jeez, that is actually... That is hot, like I can't hold it in my fingers now. Jeez.
And then for the other bolt and nut, I did the same thing, used a wire brush and lubricant, and then I got a big bar to break it loose. There we go. And then I put a 19mm socket on one side and the 19mm wrench on the other side, so I can like hold it from 2 places and unscrew the nut, and I hammered it out. And then we got the bolt out, and then we put a hammer there and someone pried it off. It wasn't too hard. Now, unfortunately, here is the part where you may also have a problem like I did here. I've seen other people have the same problem, that the Panhard rod just doesn't want to come out with the bushing and you end up with this. But I'll talk about that later in the video. Alright, so now that we have the Panhard rod out, I took it out anyway, just because it'd be easier to take it off when it's on the car than when it's not. Next up, I want to move on here on the passenger side. If you look right in there, behind this brake line that's leaking, you will see the load sensing valve, I think it's called. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it depends how much load is on the rear axle. I think it sends out how like certain amount of pressure in the brake fluid for the rear brakes. So we need to disconnect that from this little suspension linkage, so let's get to it. Here's pretty much what I did. I got a 12mm socket and I got a 13mm wrench to hold the actual shaft of the bolt. Really, it's kind of like a oval rectangle. I don't know how to explain it. Point is, 13mm hold it and undo the 12mm nut. Now that that's done, I think we're going to move on and do these suspension linkages that go to the front of the car, pretty much, like the longer ones. These bottom ones, not here. Who's lighting fireworks at 2 PM? You can't even see them. Like, yes, we're gonna do the bottom ones first, and then we're gonna move on to the top ones, which are the last ones, and then we can finally take the rear suspension assembly out. All right, so I had that on the jack, the socket on the inside part of the car, and I had this wrench here. Jeez, hold on. Yeah, I had this wrench here with this big bar attached to it, and a very, very loud bang. I pulled on that up, but I've broken it loose, so from now on it should be easy. There we go, so that bolt is now out. Let's see if it's any... Oh, that's quite easy to get out. Yeah, there's a bit of tension, of course, on it, but that is loose. So I've actually taken this whole rear axle off the wooden blocks. It's just hanging now by those 2 suspension linkages, just so I have more space to actually like put the stick in and like yank it up. There we go, I'm quite happy with that. So the setup is this little scissor jack holding the wrench here, and this other wrench with the big bar hopefully should break it loose. So that is loose. You were actually able to see this drop a little bit more, so it's even more free now that that is loose. Now, I'm not going to take it out all the way, but I'm going to keep unscrewing it a little bit more, and then I'm going to do the other side. So, and there we go. Would you look at that? That is the second last bolt when you take off before this whole assembly comes out. I'm not going to pop that out now because I don't want it hanging just by that one. So I'm going to go undo that one, and then I'll pop them both out at the same time, and we lift the whole suspension assembly out. So I'm just after taking the last bolt, well, the nut out, and I mean, look at the way it's hanging, it looks ridiculous, but now we are ready to completely remove it. So I have the axle on the 2 ramps, and we can pop this out. Hold on, there we go. Put it there, and that should just, there, lovely. And now the last one. Well, there we go. And look at that, that is done. And that looks weird. So yeah, there we go. I'm quite happy with how that went. I hope this helped you guys too. I think this is a big success. I mean, after all, I didn't really break any bolts. I didn't hurt myself and everything went well. So yeah. Now I did say we're going to get back to the issue with the Panhard rod here, that it didn't fully come out. Now I've seen other people, it happened to other people, and they just chopped it off because they were replacing the Panhard rod for an adjustable one. I'm going to take a guess and assume that if you're planning on doing this, you are also going to get an adjustable Panhard rod. You can get one from Disfab, I know. I'm probably going to try and make one myself. So in the future, I'll probably make a how-to video on how I'm going to make an adjustable one of these. So the way I've seen people take them off is just put a grinder to it. Now, in terms of what's next, I'm going to end the video here. I don't want to get it going on for too long, but I will probably drop the fuel tank just so I can properly get all the rust out. And we will also have to take care of the load sensing valve, or whatever that is. So we're probably going to make a video on taking that out and that out. Also, I would like to experiment with DIY bushings, like stiffer bushings for the suspension. I'm going to try that out on the adjustable Panhard rod I'm going to make myself, and I'll see if I can chop these in half and replace the bushings on them, or I might just get new ones, or I might just try and make my own ones. I might just chop these in half and make them adjustable. But now that that's out of the car, I'm going to take it into the back garden and get rid of all the rust, repaint it, make it look very, very nice, and yeah. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to leave it here. I hope this helped out. Any questions, DM me on Instagram or leave a comment down below. Check out the merch, link in the description once again, and check out the TikTok and the Instagram, and I shall see you in the next one.